And so, I mean, I'm going to go into a visualization in a minute because that seems to have been a good way to start the last few times. And I will be making that up as I go, so I've no idea where I will be going. But I'm just interested before I do that, any comments or observations that anyone has besides the abnormal state of weather. Um, Anything that you feel to bring in to the conversation? Hi, Bianca.
Hi, John. Hi, everyone.
Okay, well, since nobody is leaping in, uh, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and center and take a few deep breaths and connect with your body. And as you connect and as you breathe, just allow any sense of tension that's being held in your body or your mind. Just do your best to let go of that and allow yourself to drop. And breathe into that depth and expand the sense of centeredness in your being. The place that may be the center of what you feel to be you, the core of you, who you are. Maybe that's the seat of your soul. Maybe it's a sense of your energy. And of whatever it is that you hold as your sense of identity, of who you truly are. And from that center, hold the sense and the feeling of your own personal energy field, your own field of information. The part of the flow that you identify as you. And feel into the sense of what the boundaries to that you-ness might be. where do you end? And where does everything else that is the field of information, where does that begin? And allow the sense of those boundaries to dissolve even more, and feel how you can explore, how you can expand into everything that is somehow local to you, but not quite part of you. Notice what your sense of that is. Your sense of the interface and of the relationship. And now maybe expand that a little further. Have the sense of connecting with more. Allow yourself to feel the expansion of your relationship with your world and with the information field. Allow yourself the sense of expanding into more of that connection. And notice what that does to your sense of what reality is. What might be the distinction between the reality that you are sensing into and that you are inhabiting through this process of expanding your field into the wider field? What's the quality of that reality? Who do you become when you enter that space? what's the difference between that new reality and the regular day-to-day reality that we usually inhabit? Notice if any sense comes to you of what the difference might mean for how you function. What does it mean for your relationship with the world? How different is it from the way that you usually think? And now, as you connect with that different sense of reality, and your place in it, also allow the connection to extend to the others on this call. However and whoever you sense us to be as a collective, as well as a set of individuals. Notice what shows up. Give some attention to your body and notice whether there are any sensations there. Any feelings or qualities. And once again, notice the distinction and any difference between what you feel or sense or are aware of in this space as compared with the old reality. And I invite you to sense into the place that we are on in some kind of journey from the old way of being into a new way of being. The connected, the relational, the full engagement, between you and your information field, and the wider information field, of everything that you are connected to. And able to sense. Even if you don't know what it is you're sensing, even if it has no labels. Allow that to be there. And allow yourself to be in the space of the conventional and the alternative, the old and the new. And whatever journey of human consciousness we are participating in. So for just a little while longer, rest in that space. Allow yourself to sense all of it, everything that is there for you. And now take a good deep breath and become aware of your body. Feel your relationship with your body, the boundaries of your skin. Maybe begin to move your hands and your feet. And as you move more and more into your body and bring yourself fully back into your physicality, when you're ready, open your eyes. So, welcome, Mitra. You're a first timer here and you arrived in the middle of the visualization. So, I hope something of that still worked for you. If not, by all means, connect with the recording and you can have it all again. So, I didn't exactly know where that was going to go. And now I guess I'm interested to hear from your point of view where it went for you and what showed up for you in the process, whether you had any sensations, any presence of the journey or of anything else that was about.
I will
Yes,
share
Jim.
a bit. When I do this kind of thing, I feel like there's great similarity between what I experience now and I guess at my age where I don't sleep through the night, kind of often between sleeping and waking, and sort of a sense, I can sort of get a sense after the fact if I've had a dream, whether it was at a deep sleep state or a lighter sleep state. And there's just this sort of a disconnection from the geometric patterns that I'm used to when I'm looking around my current world. I feel really amorphous. And the experiences of what I'm open to tend to show up a little differently. You know, the word people felt that sense of sort of the pattern you see in the Matrix movie with the information going in front of you on the screen, so forth. It's just kind of a really very pleasant few moments. Thank you. And I do get the sense, I tend to be very cerebral in my approach to life. Um, I have other capacities, but that's my dominant way. So when I'm able to do some kind of a guided imagery or meditation, kind of let that go, really has an impact.
Thank you. Anyone else?
So actually, for today, I found it quite hard to connect today. Could hear everything you were saying, and I kind of was in my own space somehow. Not sure why, except that right at the end, I had a very strong sense that I was in a tunnel. I'd left behind what was, but I'm not sure where I'm going, and I feel like that's where I'm at right now. So I couldn't really connect. It was like there was just this tunnel, and that was my experience with the whole thing, really. So very interesting, and unusual, but
Thank you.
I thought it was a brilliant exploration. I really enjoyed it. Um, but yeah, I think a lot of the time I was sensing the different, areas and relationships and things that you were bringing forward, often without really knowing what. Yeah, without having any conscious clarity on what exactly I was sensing. Um, I felt like at one point having the awareness of just sort of different timelines and dimensions that I suppose are possible, or from like where we are now to where we're going. But again, without any real clarity on anything beyond that. But yeah, at one point, I guess the thought popped in, though, of having a future self that already exists. To, like, if I can pose the question to the future self, and as to like what's an easy way forward to get to that particular timeline, dimension, whatever. If I could have clarity on that, that would be quite nice. So maybe that's something I just spend more time with. And that's what I had, even like right off the start. I was like, this, I need more of this. Just the being present in all that you said. Yeah, I would probably re-listen to this one more again and again. That was, yeah, I really loved it, John. It was great exploration. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And that sounds like a really good question that you came up with. Yeah.
So when I do these kind of things, I generally get sort of almost like Jungian active imagination experiences. So it's like I'm in a place. So I usually have, I'm usually pretty good at going into like a big sort of as if I'm the whole universe thing pretty quickly. And since the guiding was focusing on getting from me to just the next layer out or so, I found myself in like I was on a boogie board in an ocean, and there were clouds everywhere, and it's kind of, the ocean isn't really smooth. It's a little bit choppy, but not much. And just noticing that in the chair physically, I wasn't really balanced. But as I got comfortable with the image of not being in control of the boogie board, that I slowly became more wider in my hips as I was sitting on the chair. And so I was actually becoming more comfortable in being uncomfortable. And then an image came of me standing in a field surrounded by trees. And the image always, the thought that always comes is that I saw a movie version of 1984 once. And the main character that's played by John Hurt, he ends up in a big field somewhere in England, right? With that thought, then in the tree line back far was fire appeared above the trees. Like, anyway. So all of that to say that by the end, I was like realizing that all of those things were happening simultaneously, those two different images, and sort of having that wider view that all of that's going on. So it's the sort of finding a way to be available to the sort of the discomfort of the way too much information all at once, as it were.
As I said, I mean, I didn't really have a plan, but I'm quite conscious for myself of this having been a particularly turbulent week internally. Well, and sort of a little bit externally with triggers, but the sense of my own responses. And I think what was maybe in the back of my mind was a sense for myself of being caught between the old and the new, and of it sometimes being really quite uncomfortable. The kind of there is so much in the old reality that is about fear and distrust and uncertainty and disconnection and anxiety and all the stuff that we know that's not just us. It's certainly not just me. It's the state of the world. But what was strong for me in that was the sense of challenge, actually, but that was also bringing a sense of determination about which reality I'm going to choose to live in and live from. And so I just feel that's ongoing. I don't know whether there is an end point to it. I certainly have no concept of what an end point would look like, let alone feel like. I only have the sense of wanting it to be different.
But I think you said something key, though. You know which one you're choosing, and it just made me really be aware of the power of choice versus which has a different energy than sort of the simple desire or wanting, a certain future. But choice has a different. It's more active, I guess, is maybe in my world, and I mean that's why we're here. I think that's why you're doing the field circle, because it's a more active space to somehow get closer to that future that we desire.
Thank you for using that word, Yvonne, because I needed to hear it. I've just been overwhelmed in the last week or so by just the physical world of things that needed to be done, and Red Queen sort of experience, right? And I realized that I haven't been doing my exercises. I haven't been sitting down because I'm running faster and faster. And when I sat down to do this, it's like the first thing that popped into the mind is, what in the heck am I doing? What are my priorities? Why am I just letting the next phone call for a demand sort of pull me? And and the idea that I'm at the place where I have to make choices, and I'm one that can let things evolve, right? And sometimes that uh, that that's the field, right? It will be what it will be. But I think I need to stop evolving and starting to make no choices about, nah, we're not doing that. Nah, we're not tolerating that. So thanks for that word, Yvonne. That really gave me closure to where I've been heading.
I think there's something about the moment of choosing a path and attempting to be in a different relationship with reality that is going to immediately stir up all of these sort of transition zones we seem to be describing, that is immediately unfamiliar and unsure, unsecure, where there seems to be a thing that we're to choose that seems to be another, well, in what do they call it, alpha state in spiral dynamics, right? So it's there's the moment of choosing to move into the beta of something's not working, and that space itself is also, it's not like horrible and terrifying, but it's uncomfortable. And to me, the thought is, how does one relax into the discomfort? Because you know you need the discomfort in order to have your choice to move into the new state occur. You need the discomfort to happen. But fighting the discomfort makes it worse.
And especially when I don't think there's a clear concept of what the new state is. It's easy to know what we don't want. You know, go to the store and don't get junk food. Well, what's in your car, right? And I think we're at that overwhelming thing. Juliana, wasn't it you that said there's kind of a tunnel there, but you don't know where it leads, right? But I don't think there's a tunnel. I think there's a, sort of a maze. Maybe we have old mine workings around here, and you can easily get yourself hopelessly lost in them because they're not a tunnel. They're a maze, and you don't know what's at the end of any of them, right? So it's not just that things are going to be different when you make a choice. You choose a tunnel without knowing where it goes.
That brings up a really interesting question from my point of view, kind of about the intuitive space, because when we're in that maze and faced with a number of potential choices, without often without really knowing quite where they lead. So where is the place that we choose from? Because if we don't know, what can we sense into, and how can we sense into that, so that there is something, I mean, even from what you were expressing, Yvonne, a sense of being pulled by the awareness of your future self and of what's known in that space.
David's concept of discomfort pops a real question in my mind of, you know, sometimes there are futures that you feel, no, not that, right? But I, from your point of discomfort, I wonder if I'm always right in that. Am I choosing a future that I see as being 1984, or am I simply sensing the discomfort that will be on the path before getting to the future, which, if I ever got there, would be perfectly okay? So, wow, I'm going to really have to think about that.
Well, think, or maybe sense, because I think that's what inhabits this space of the sensing of somewhere being beyond the discomfort and more sensing what the destination is, so that even the discomfort, it's like the pull is not just in the choice, but it's a pull through the discomfort as well. I mean, I see David nodding, so that looks like that's real for you.
Yeah, the thing that Barb's talking about is I've been living purposely for about since January in a very intuitive space where I try to do my intuitions if they're at all possible and won't harm anyone else. And what I'm finding and coming up in the past week or so is that where I'm being pulled is toward a set of information or a field or a discipline of work to do that even say 3 weeks ago or definitely over my lifetime, I would have absolutely rejected out of hand. No, that's not my path. That's not the thing I'm supposed to be doing. I'm over here doing this. And so the sense of that following your intuitions this deeply is constantly leading me into discomfort. And what I find is if I sit with the discomfort, I learn exactly what Barb is describing of I think this is a no. And as soon, but if I sit here long enough, that no can move into a I don't know to a maybe. And it's even appearing to right now be, oh no, that thing I was absolutely rejecting, that's actually the thing I need to do. Even, and so my sense of why I was rejecting it has completely shifted.
And sometimes it's just that sense of no, this has to be done. You know, it's almost like there is no choice. It's the path that somebody has to step in, and if not you, who?
Precisely.
Yeah, thank you for articulating that so well, David. I think that was really helpful. Jim, yeah.
I think looking at it from the standpoint of emergence is helpful, in that what's emerging within me that is leading me, whether it's through discomfort or through some kind of a passionate awakening, toward a certain thing or away from a certain thing, and to be able to be with that through that discomfort, through that trial period, if you will, sort of in the hero journey motif, the wilderness, where you're looking for both the features, positive and negative, that will influence you on the direction you go in. Being able to be in a space of discomfort, of liminality, is so critical today. Not just in our own, interpersonal lives, but in terms of the grand scheme of things. So that's sort of where humanity, and how many of us are willing to live with the discomfort of not thinking it's okay if we don't know exactly which way to go and what we should do, despite the cacophony of voices around us that are pushing, pulling, screaming, yelling, and to be at peace in that discomfort, knowing that you're in the middle of a process that's going to take you somewhere, even though you don't know where it is, which I think is scary as hell. And if you do it a lot, you kind of get used to it like you do anything else, but it never stops being comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm also feeling as if maybe the path is changing because, as Graves would have said, life conditions aren't what they were 5-10 years ago, and they certainly aren't what we thought they would be now 5 or 10 years ago. And so the path that you saw that one would never take in those life conditions might have been an absolute right intuition, but it's as if you those games where you suddenly fall through a floor or walk through a wall and you're not in Kansas anymore. And I think there's more of that happening to us than we'd like to admit. And maybe we're not looking at where we're at versus where we thought we'd be at as much as we ought to. You know, shoot, I thought I was in mine one I actually fell through the wall, and now I'm in mine 3. Shoot, the the maze isn't the maze I was trying to navigate.
Yeah. Well, and certainly in respect of kind of, talking about graves in 5 and 10 years. I mean, the world isn't where it was 5 months ago, or possibly 5 weeks ago. And
Or even
and
last
5
week.
days ago.
so
Yeah.
there's something about the nature of even how our relationship with time in this way of living is in it kind of demands actually being more in the now than we've ever been called to be. There's nothing predictable. There's nothing. I mean, one of the things I talk about a lot is the breakdown of the linear perspective and the feeling that actually um, that's accelerating, or it's becoming the complexity, the interactions, the everything everywhere all at once feeling of it. That's part of why it feels so intense, and the degree of challenge that I feel that's presenting.
I think this is the way it feels to go through a time in which, in order for humanity to do something to beneficial, it requires people to be more cognitively complex. And going through that process hurts. Jim used the word liminality. And if anything describes my experience of whatever the world is like, especially just literally looking at the news about all the various natural disasters that have been going on just literally in the past couple of days, I was just like, woof. I mean, how do you take in all of that information? So the thing is, we're having to figure out how to take in all of this information. We don't really have a choice not to.
And to change your attitude toward it. So we had some storm fronts come through here, and we need rain very badly. And we were west of the front, so we didn't get any rain. So I pop up and I look out the door and go, "Damn, no rain!" Turn on the morning news and see that 50 miles east of us, where the rain started, we now had houses, villages that had just been leveled with heavy duty tornadoes. And it's like, be careful what you wish for. And so to try and keep all of that in perspective, and it's not easy, right?
I just wanted to say something. First of all, I wanted to thank you all allowing me to be part of your circle. I was late a little bit because the link, it's actually when I click on it, it goes to the old video record. So I couldn't get in. But when I came in and I started to manage myself and just get to the zone, I had some vibrations in here, just circling around, and it felt like it reminded me about the dream that I had last night. It was a tornado that came in, and then it was damaging some of the windows and doors, and we were inside and we were afraid. And that was in a dream. But then I felt that when you were talking, instead of me afraid of that tornado, I became that tornado. So I actually just brought myself within that tornado and I started to felt more relaxed, actually, that I can control it, I can manage that tornado. um, so things for me in my life, it's been changing like constantly. Like, yeah, it's crazy with the divorce, retirement, all of that stuff. It's just completely, it seems that it's pulling me away from what I was having the habit of doing to something that I'm not even certain what it is. It's just that I'm trying to get there, but I don't know what it is. It's very scary. A lots of emotions in there that kind of know what am I doing to myself. But yeah, so I found that that was one of the things that I experienced, and from what Barbara was talking about, what is happening to the world, and David were just talking about it. I think the shadows are here. I think that's shadows that for everyone to see and experience those shadows, each one of us individually and in the collective aspect of the things. We are just seeing our shadows, and now it's time for us to say, okay, can we survive with all the shadows and these dark, dark part of ourselves? Can we deal with that collectively or individually, or we need to describe something differently in this world, to set some, for example, identifying the nature of things. For example, oh, we have these animals which they called human, that they do these type of activities or another type of activity. So the nature of things, or the movie of the nature of things, may need to be discovered, that okay, these are individuals that they are eating human, for example. These individuals are the ones that they raping 8 years old kids, for example. So either that, or this is the time to really discover, I think, in my opinion, the shadow, we are seeing all the shadows now. What to do with that? How are we going to be able to work with that?
Thank you. Thank you, Mitra. Simone, you've come on screen. You've been quiet so far. You're on mute.
It's been an interesting morning. I had a couple of emergencies that I had to take care of, so I came off the screen, and now I'm back on. And so my intervention is going to be what is going on here? This is actually now in the now. It's no longer a few weeks from what happened 2 weeks ago, 1 week. Now, what's happening right this minute that is interfering with me even being present? And I have to, I smile at it all and just take it with a grain of salt. That's what it is. Accept it, live with it, and expand with it. So I am in full agreement with what that Mitra is saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bianca, are you signaling?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I was just also feeling a connection with the tornado that Mitra was talking about. And I'm a mom with a lot of kids and lots happening all around me all the time. And I often use the image of being the silent point inside the storm and just residing there, and everything goes on around me. And then another parallel that I wanted to pull is I work with birth. And what we see in birth is a lot like what we're talking about here today, where there's so many things to worry about. Nobody knows what the outcome is going to be. Lots of questions, lots of opinions. There's history, there's expectations. But when we see women in birth letting go and totally dropping into the present moment and allowing not only their minds, but their bodies as well to be fully present, they go into a timeless space where they can connect with the ancestors and all women that given birth before, in a much wider space. And when we see women do that, there's an absolute beautiful thing that happens where everything um, happens with incoherence and beauty, without effort, even though there is discomfort. it's a definite surrendering into the discomfort of the moment, but that creates a sense of awe at the same time. Yeah, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. Yeah, and in a way, we are birthing our new humanity and ourselves over and over again by releasing into this discomfort. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Bianca. That's, I mean, we're running up to time, and I think that's a perfect, beautiful image to end with. So thank you for that. Thank you all for your presence and your contributions. And see you again in a couple of weeks.
Thank you for doing this, John.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye,
John.
guys.
Thank you
Have a
all.
good week.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.